Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys another episode of What's Better, Raw or SmackDown, and this is episode 11. Um, we're gonna see which one's better. For the past three episodes, SmackDown's been better than Raw, which is not a good thing for Raw. I just kind of was going through the episode yesterday and watching and said which one I thought was better, and lately it's been SmackDown. So let's see if Raw can finally beat SmackDown in this episode. I'm obviously doing last week's Raw and SmackDown because this week's Raw and SmackDown hasn't happened yet. So I've already watched Raw. I just didn't get a chance to do the video, so I'm gonna watch Raw now. I mean, I'm already watching. I'm just gonna talk about it now. Um, so let's start with Raw. Raw took place on December 26, 2016. We had Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Byron Saxton on commentary, and obviously this was the last Raw of 2016, so it was a pretty big Raw in that aspect. And Stephanie McMahon came out and cut a promo. I don't really remember a lot about what she said, but pretty much Seth Rollins comes out and interrupts her, and asks if her and Triple H had a great Chris holiday, and he pretty much says, "I hope you got Triple H some balls because he seemed to have lost his." Um, and Seth Rollins pretty much says that that Triple H is a coward and won't come out and face Seth Rollins. He'll call him out every week, but he won't face him. And Stephanie McMahon says that Triple H is busy. He's the COO of $1 million company. And Seth Rollins then says, "Well, yeah, but I remember it was around this time last year. He was gearing up to be in the Royal Rumble match." And then Seth Rollins says, "Well, if Triple H won't come out here, I want to face someone who laid me out last week. I want to face Braun Strowman." Um, and then Roman Reigns comes out and says that he wants to face Braun Strowman since he laid waste to him as well. Um, and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns go back and forth about who should face Braun Strowman. And then eventually they're like, "Why would we do that? We could just go out there, but go backstage right now, find Braun Strowman, and double powerbomb him Shield style." And then Stephanie McMahon tries to go, yeah, and tries to join up with them, and it was just actually kind of funny and awkward. And Stephanie McMahon says, "Well, tonight we're out in Chicago, and SmackDown's also going to be in Chicago, so we could go find Dean Ambrose, and we could have a nice show at Fast and Shield reunion." And then she teases it like it's going to happen, and then Stephanie McMahon says, "Well, it's not going to happen." Which I do think a Shield reunion is coming. They've been teasing it for a while. We're having, when they tease it at Survivor Series, and then they've been teasing it with, with Rollins and Reigns on Raw. You just need to get Dean Ambrose over from SmackDown, and I think you could get a nice Shield reunion, which I would like. And I'd like to see the Shield come back together. It's been about now it's been about 3 years, since they've been broken up. They're all baby faces now, and I think having them finally be together. It just we need to, like I said, we need to get Dean Ambrose over to SmackDown to Raw. Um, but Stephanie McMahon says that Seth Rollins is pretty much going to get the match with Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns is going to defend his United States Championship against an opponent of her choosing. Which says right now we're going to have our first championship match tonight, and the first title match, it was a WWE Raw Tag Team Championship match. WWE Raw Tag Team Champions Cesaro and Sheamus versus Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods with Big E ringside. This was pretty much the New Day's rematch clause for the titles, and this was actually a really good matchup. I don't think it's the best match that like any combination of the New Days had with Cesaro and Sheamus, but it was still good. Woods and Kingston start out at really fast pace and dominate Cesaro and Sheamus, but eventually Xavier Woods goes for the honor roll on Cesaro, but Sheamus had tagged himself in, and he catches Woods in a blow kick, and Sheamus and Cesaro retain the Raw Tag Team Championships, and overall it was a good, solid tag team match. So I kind of wonder where they go from here now, though, because now the New Days had their rematch, and who does Cesaro and Sheamus face? I'm thinking either Luke Gallows, I'm thinking probably it's going to be Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. That's just what I'm thinking. And then it shows a video package for Brock Lesnar, hyping him up for the Royal Rumble match, talking, pretty much showing his dominance, and it shows that promo with Heyman talking about how since he's lost to Goldberg at Survivor Series, he now had something to prove. So I liked this video package. It was a good way to make Brock Lesnar look dominant, because now he nearly needs to look dominant since he lost a lot of momentum at Survivor Series. And then Braun Strowman backstage and Jericho are backstage, and they're pretty much are saying that Roman Reigns has been saying insulting things about them, and Seth Rollins has as well. This is pretty much was them trying to get Braun Strowman to destroy Seth Rollins and get him out of his life. So, um, and then the Golden Truth are backstage, and Bailey comes up and gives Goldust a gift. It's a Bailey Bear dressed as Dusty Rhodes, and she talks about everything that Dusty Rhodes has done for her in NXT, and Goldust appreciates it. And then Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson comes up and make fun of him, and they destroy the bear, which leads to a tag team match later on in the show. So, yeah, this segment really wasn't that good though, but whatever. And then we had Nia Jax versus Scarlett, and Scarlett announces that it's been a lifelong dream. Talks about how it's been a lifelong dream of hers to be a WWE superstar, and she's gonna dedicate this win to her idol Sasha Banks, which obviously is not good for her because they're doing a Nia Jax Sasha Banks feud, and Nia Jax squashes Sasha Banks. No, squashes Scarlett. Sorry. And then afterwards, she gets on the mic and says that Sasha Banks is a better. It says that Sasha Banks is not a good role model or something like that. It was pretty bad. I didn't really care for this. And then Charlotte and Stephanie McMahon are backstage, and they're shaking hands like Stephanie McMahon did something for her. And then Jericho come up, and Chris Jericho talks about how it's not fair that he has to be risen above the ring in a steel cage in the shark cage at the Royal Rumble, and he says that he has he has a fear of heights, and he said that Mick Foley could possibly put spiders in there, and I could break out in pimples. It was actually pretty funny, and Kevin Owens is like, he's not even making any sense. But then Jericho says, well, tonight we could, since you're predicting, since you're gonna be picking an opponent for Roman Reigns to face for the United States title, me and Owens don't have a match tonight, so you could choose one of us. So Stephanie McMahon picks Kevin Owens since he beat Roman Reigns at Roadblock end of the line, and Kevin Owens, Jericho didn't look happy about this, but Owens then says, "Hey, it's okay, man. It could have gone either way, and I'm gonna take well." Right now, we're the WWE Universal Champion, and later on in the night, we're both going to be the United States Champion. So then we had a Bailey promo, and she pretty much comes out and talks about, how she's now 3-0 against Charlotte, and now that since she beat Charlotte last week, this makes her the #1 contender to the WWE Raw Women's Championship. And she says that she's always had a dream. She wants to turn that replica WWE Raw Women's Championship into the real championship. And then Charlotte comes out and says that Bailey's victory was a fluke. And it shows, when Bailey was pinning her shoulder being up. So Charlotte says that she met with the lawyers, and she had her loss with Bailey erased from the record books, which I don't know. I always question where the records books are because they always talk about them. I think it's like a fictional thing, like it's a metaphor. And then what else? But anyhow, I was just reading something. Sorry, but anyhow, so Charlotte says that since she's still feeling in the holiday mood, she's going to give Bailey a rematch with but she also says, but it's a referee of my choosing, so it ends up being Charlotte versus Bailey with Dana Brooke as the special guest referee, and Dana Brooke has pretty much put favor in Charlotte, so Bailey just lays her out with a Bailey to belly, and then a real referee comes in and calls the match, and Bailey's about to beat her with a Bailey to belly, but Dana Brooke pulls the referee out, and Bailey chases after her, and Charlotte rolls her up, holds the ropes, and Dana Brooke counts 3, and she sees Charlotte's foot's on the ropes, but since she's in favor of Charlotte, she still counts 3 anyways, and yeah, I thought this was okay. It wasn't anything special. It's building up to probably at the Royal Rumble, Charlotte versus Bailey for the Raw Women's title, which I'm fine with. But one of my friends made a suggestion that instead of maybe doing that, they should do like a woman's, since they're doing a lot of first evers with women. They did the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match, first ever women's Falls Count Anywhere match, first ever women's Iron Man match. They should do a first ever women's Royal Rumble match where it's all the women and the winner gets to face either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion at WrestleMania. And I actually think that'd be a great idea. You know, it'd be something different and it would be something really cool. You could have, I know it, I wouldn't like it. I'd like it though, because it would put the women on the same platform as the males. But I'd only really like to see one Rumble match. But I really wouldn't mind seeing it. You would have to probably space out the Rumble matches. Maybe put the women's one in the beginning of the show, and then put the main Rumble, the 30-man Royal Rumble match at the end of the show. But I actually wouldn't mind seeing that. That's actually they actually could do something like that. That would be a chance. One, you can push off doing Bayley versus Charlotte till WrestleMania, and you can really build up Bayley because I know Bayley's built up, but I think Bayley needs like a huge victory. It feels like that she is being built. She has been built up, but I think like if you had to win the first ever women's Royal Rumble match, that would really launch her to be able to be able to. You would really believe that she could beat Charlotte for the Raw Women's title. So I like to see that. And you could get a lot of the women on the show. And if you wanted to, too, you can even do like a champion to get Charlotte and, you know, the SmackDown, whoever the SmackDown Women's Champion is, whether it's Becky Lynch or Alexa Bliss. You could have them be on guest commentary for it. So I think that'd be nice. And then the next match, it was Neville versus TJ Perkins. During this match, they've been doing this a lot with the cruiserweights where Austin Aries takes Byron Saxton's spot on commentary. I'm actually fine with this because Austin Aries is really good on commentary and this promotes 205 Live, so it's good. And overall, this was actually a pretty good match. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I like the new Neville. And then Neville ends up winning with a roll-up while he's holding Perkins tight, so he ends up going over. And then afterwards, he pretty much disses America, saying that you always trash my abilities, saying that I could never be the face of the WWE, and that I would never be anything because you Americans always judge me. And I thought that was really nice. And then afterwards, he says that he's challenging Rich Swann to a one-on-one match on 205 Live this week. So then that was it there. I actually enjoyed this interview segment. I thought it was good. And I like I said, I'm really liking the new Neville. He's getting better and better every week. And then the next one, we had an Enzo Amore and Big Cass promo. And Enzo Amore was in a wheelchair after the beating that Rusev and Jinder Mahal gave him. And, you know, they cut a promo on Big Cass says that they were both cowards for attacking Enzo Amore and setting him up like that. And he challenges to come out there so he can kick their ass right now. And then Rusev and Lana come out. And then Jinder Mahal comes out. And it looks like it's going to be a 2-on-1 thin. And Jinder Mahal disrespectfully slaps Enzo Amore. And then Enzo Amore gets off the wheelchair and pulls Jinder Mahal while he's on the apron. And Big Cass lays out Rusev with a big boot. And then he slingshots, and then he eventually lays out Jinder with a big boot when he's on the wheelchair. And then he slingshots Enzo off the top rope onto the wheelchair, which I thought was nice. And I actually forgot, and I thought this was a good segment. You know, I'm really not a huge fan of Jinder Mahal being involved, but I guess they have to get somebody involved. They can't just make this Rusev versus both in a 2-on-1 handicap match because that doesn't really make him look like a heel. So, and I guess Rusev and Jinder Mahal could work. It's not for as a tag team right now. I don't think it's going to be for the long term, but we'll have to wait and see. And something I forgot to mention too was Stephanie McMahon was backstage, and Braun Strowman was bullying one of the backstage superstars. And Stephanie McMahon's like, Braun, what are you doing? And Braun says, I was asking him where Sami Zayn was, but he didn't answer fast enough, which I loved. And then she says, well, you're supposed to be focusing on your match with Seth Rollins tonight. And then he says, I'm multitasking. So then Stephanie McMahon pretty much says, okay, you want Sami Zayn? You're going to get him next week, which is this week. And she says that Braun Strowman will face Sami Zayn and next week. But Braun Strowman says he doesn't want to just beat Sami Zayn. He wants to put Sami Zayn down. He wants to be the last man standing. So then, he says something like that. So then Stephanie McMahon makes a last man standing match between Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn, which I actually kind of can't wait to see that match, even though we know where it's going. So then we had the next match. It was the Shining Stars versus Bo Dallas and Darren Young with Bob Backlund ringside. I guess Bo Dallas turned face. I don't really know what happened there, but the whole reason this match was put together was the Shining Stars were trying to sell a timeshare to Bob Backlund, and he says that he's retired, so Bob Backlund got upset about it, and Dale Young and Bo Dallas had to hold him back, which was pretty lame. I don't think Bo Dallas really turned face, though, just because this match really was just there so that Braun Strowman could come out and kill everybody, which is exactly what happened, and he really did a good job of that, and then he ended up tossing Dale Young right into Bob Backlund and just killed him. And then Strowman tosses the steel steps and takes out Bo Dallas and the Shining Stars, which was awesome. And I thought this was good. Braun Strowman killed everybody here. So I thought that was awesome. And then we had Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins. Pretty much the whole match is Braun Strowman killing Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins does get some offense in, but not a lot. And he really tries to, and he nearly beats Braun Strowman. He goes for the pedigree, but Strowman tosses him out, and then he clotheslines him on the floor. And then Sami Zayn's music plays, and he comes out and he attacks Braun Strowman. And Strowman he throws him into the steel post 3 times, but this has no effect on Strowman, and he chases Sami Zayn into the crowd, which I liked this. This was a way to protect Braun Strowman so he didn't have to lose to Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins is also like one of the top guys on Raw, and you can't have him lose to Braun Strowman either, so this protected both guys. And this obviously set up the match next week for Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman in the Last Man Standing match. And then afterwards, Chris Jericho comes out and lays out Seth Rollins with a code breaker. And then a bunch of referee and security have to hold him back, but then he lays out Rollins again with the code breaker. And I thought that was really good. This was really good stuff here. And Kevin Owens is all happy about this backstage, and he talks about how he's going to destroy Roman Reigns and become the new United States champion. And Jericho comes up and talks about what he did, and they're all happy about it. So I thought that was good. And then we had the Golden Truth versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Didn't care about this match. Gallows and Anderson win when the Anderson rolls up the Goldust and holds the tights. And yeah, it's just we see this match all the time now, and it's like I would like to see Gallows and Anderson in a more prominent role as a team, which I hope happens this year. So we're gonna have to wait and see. And then Rich Swan's backstage, and pretty much he's walking backstage, and he sees Noam Dar talking to Dana Brooke, which I expect to be used to further the feud between Noam Dar and Cedric Alexander, so that's why I brought this up. And then we had Arya Daivari versus Rich Swann. Rich Swann beats him with a kick to the head. I really don't remember anything else about this match. And afterwards, Swann caught the promo, pretty much accepting Neville's challenge to face him on 205 Live. And afterwards, Neville attacks him from behind, beats the crap out of him. And Neville ends up laying him out with a red arrow, and he hits it right on Rich Swann's back, which looked sick. And like I said, this makes Neville look like a malicious character, which I like. And then afterwards, Arya Daivari gets interviewed, and he says the reason he lost tonight was because he was worried that Jack Gallagher was going to interfere in his match. And then and he calls him a scoundrel again, and then Jack Gallagher comes up and he says, "I'm going to be a gentleman, and I am going to allow you to take back what you just said." Well, he pretty much doesn't say it that way, but that's pretty much what he says. And then Daivari calls him a scoundrel again, and then Jack Gallagher says, "Well, there's only one way to settle this then. You and I, tomorrow night on 205 Live, are going to have a duel." And Daivari's like, "A duel?" And then he's like, "Yep." And then he has like a glove, and he slaps Daivari right in the face. And then Daivari's like, "What just happened?" And then I thought that was awesome. Jack Gallagher's awesome. I think he's like, I like a lot of the cruiserweights. I wish the cruiserweights could be used better. I think they're being used a little bit better now that they have that show and they actually have feuds and stuff. But some of my favorite cruiserweights, it's obviously Neville right now because of the way he is acting. I like Rich Swann. I like Brian Kendrick. But Jack Gallagher's really been impressing me lately. I think he's been awesome. And then afterwards, it shows a Goldberg video package hyping him up, shows him destroying Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series and talking about how he's going to be in the Royal Rumble match. And they announced that on this week's episode of Raw, Goldberg is going to return. This is going to be the first time we've seen him since he's announced his Royal Rumble appearance, so that's going to be nice. And then we had the main event. It was a United States Championship match. United States Champion Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. And this is pretty much about the same match you always get with these two. Jericho comes out, and Kevin Owens dominates the matchup for a while, and then eventually Seth Rollins comes out, lays out Jericho with a pedigree. Reigns beats Owen with a spear and retains his title. And then afterwards, Rollins lays out Owens with a pedigree, and then Reigns spears Jericho on the floor, and then Reigns and Rollins staying tall, teasing that Shield reunion that I hope happens, and that was the end of the show. Overall, thought Raw was an okay show this week. I didn't think it was anything great, but I thought it was okay. I liked there really wasn't anything I hated, but there just wasn't anything special about this show. It was just kind of like a show that was there. I didn't think it was bad or anything. I just thought it was okay. Um, it's a lot of the stuff we've seen before, like Reigns and Owens. We've seen a lot lately. It's they're still pushing Seth Rollins having this feud. Really, Rollins is just kind of stuck in limbo right now until Triple H comes back on TV. And more I mean, we've seen Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus the Golden Truth a ton of times. Nia Jax squashing someone really wasn't that special. We've seen Bayley versus Charlotte a lot, and the promo was about the same thing. So, and Enzo and Cass, that part of the show I didn't mind, but it was just kind of eh. Neville versus T.J. Perkins I thought was good. It was a match we hadn't seen before. Braun Strowman coming out there and killing everybody was good, and setting up Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman was good. And the Raw Tag Team title match was good, but like I said, we've seen the New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus a ton of times, so it's like, and setting up Brock Lesnar and Goldberg was good, but it's kind of hard for me to kind of care about it too much when they're not there, so it's kind of like that. So it's like I said, this show was an okay show, wasn't a bad show, but it was just kind of one of those Raws that came and went, nothing really special. So that's how I feel about Raw, and it kind of sucks because this is the last episode of Raw. But overall, that was Raw. So now let me talk about SmackDown. All right, so we had the commentary team of Tom Phillips, JBL, Mauro Ranallo, and David Otunga. I still don't get why Tom Phillips is on commentary. He doesn't say anything on commentary. It's just stupid. But whatever. I've said that before. And it kicks right off with the return of John Cena. And a lot of people still booed him. They still chanted John Cena sucks at him and stuff. But I'll admit, though, it was really... I'm not the biggest John Cena fan myself, but I am a fan of Cena's. I do respect all of his accomplishments. And his passion for wrestling, for WWE is unspeakable. The stuff that he does for Make-A-Wish is great. And he was gone from wrestling for months, and it's really weird to see him gone because normally he's never gone, he never misses a show, and it's really weird that he's a part-timer now in a sense. We hadn't seen John Cena since October. It was a long time we had seen him, so I'm obviously fine with Cena being back. I mean, he's still the face of WWE. That's never going to change. I feel like he is getting out of that spot, and I'm fine with him being back, and him being on SmackDown definitely ups the ante of SmackDown too, so that's good. And he comes out, he talks about, he pretty much tries to pander to the crowd at first, and talking about how the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. He hypes up SmackDown, talks about how the tag team titles and stuff are going to be defended, and then he talks about the WWE World Championship match, about how either Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, or AJ Styles could walk out WWE World Champion. And he says, well, that brings me to me. Because a lot of people have been talking. A lot of people are saying that I'm washed up. I'm a lot of people are saying I'm a glorified part-timer now. Though I got one foot out the door. I've done it all that there is to do in the WWE. And John Cena says, well, I came to say otherwise. Because because he pretty much says that the new generation sucks, pretty much. And he says that he didn't have a good year. It wasn't a good year for Super Cena. He didn't have a good year wrestling-wise. And he's here, and he wants to pick himself up, and he is challenging the winner of the WWE World Championship match to a title match at the Royal Rumble. And he says, don't think I can't do that because I'm John Cena and I can do that. And he says that he wants to make history and become and beat Ric Flair's record and become a 16-time world champion. Well, he tie his record anyways. And then he drops the mic and leaves. And I thought overall he cut a pretty good promo out there. I didn't enjoy it in the beginning when he was pandering to the crowd and stuff, and it really wasn't going anywhere. But once he finally started talking about that stuff, I liked it. And like I said, I'm happy to see Cena back. Um, and I can't wait to, obviously, what it doesn't make sense he's getting a title shot, you could say, but obviously he's John Cena. He's a 16-time world champion. The only really storyline you can tell is to have him get to that 16th world championship, and we know he is going to break Ric Flair's record eventually. It's a matter of when and where. So overall, I enjoyed this his return promo. And then the Miz gets interviewed. Um, he is actually in his locker room, and it actually looked like his locker room is in the bathroom because the walls looked like it was like a wall you would see in the bathroom, and it just looked like his locker room was in the bathroom, which was kind of funny. But he pretty much says that he's not going to be interviewed unless he gets interviewed by that person who slapped him in the face last week, Renee Young. So he has whoever was interviewing him go get Renee Young. And yeah, that was good. And then we had the first match on the show. It was a Four Corners elimination match for the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. Smackdown Tag Team Champions Randy Orton and Luke Harper with Bray Wyatt ringside versus the Usos versus Beauty and the Man Beast versus American Alpha. This was a really good opening matchup here, and this was a really good SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. And Rhino and Chad Gable start off the match because in this type of matchup, only one person on each team can be legal. And then eventually the Usos tag themselves in, and they dominate Rhino for a while. And then eventually Heath Slater gets the hot tag. He starts going off on the Usos, but eventually he tries to go off the top rope, and he ends up slipping. And one of the Usos catches him into a super kick, and ends up pinning Heath Slater. So Beauty and the Man Beast get eliminated. And then it's down to the Usos, Orton and Harper, and American Alpha. Another thing I liked about this match too was throughout the beginning of this match, the Wyatt family was just watching the match from the on the outside. They went up on the apron or anything, which I thought made the Wyatt family look smart, which made Bray Wyatt look like a smart leader. And then the Usos dominate Jason Jordan for a while, and eventually Chad Gable gets the hot tag, and he starts going off on him, and the Usos hit super kicks on both guys, and try to go for the splashes, but American Alpha hit a belly to belly suplex, one of each on both Usos, and then they try to go for Grand Amplitude, but they failed, and eventually Chad Gable beats one of the Usos with a roll up and gets the victory. Well, not the victory, but eliminates the Usos. And then afterwards, Luke Harper immediately goes right after Jason Jordan and attacks him. And then the Usos attack Jason Jordan on the outside. And the Usos end up having to go to the back. And then Orton and Harper dominate Jason Jordan for a while. They completely dominate him. And eventually Chad Gable gets the hot tag. He ends up hitting a German suplex on Harper, which was cool. And eventually, behind the referee's back, Orton attacks Gable. And then Orton and Harper just dominate Chad Gable. Orton hits the back suplex into the barricade twice. And they just dominate Chad Gable. Eventually, Jason Jordan gets the hot tag, starts going off on everybody. And then eventually the match breaks down into chaos. Jason Jordan, Harper tries to is about to powerbomb Jason Jordan, but then Chad Gable takes him on with a tilt-a-whirl, and then he takes out Bray Wyatt, and then eventually Orton hits a Heyman's DDT on Jason Jordan, or no, Chad Gable actually, and then eventually Orton's about to superplex Jason Jordan off the top rope. Luke Harper tries to get involved, but then eventually Orton accidentally hits Luke Harper, and American Alpha hit Grand Amplitude on Orton and get the victory, and American Alpha become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which I was actually surprised about because I didn't see this coming. I think the only reason they did is if the hype blows, if Zack Ryder hadn't gotten injured, I think this they would have hold off putting the titles on him. But I was fine with it. I would have preferred more Bill, but like I said, I think they were booked into the corner because if Zack Ryder's injury, it made him have to put it on faster, put him on him faster. Um, and then what else? Afterwards, Orton and Harper were arguing, so and Bray Wyatt has to be like the peacekeeper. So they're probably gonna now tease. So now what's probably gonna happen is Randy Orton is gonna finally turn on the Wyatt family, probably at the Rumble. The whole Wyatt family is probably gonna be in the Rumble match, and Randy Orton is gonna eliminate Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper and reveal that it was all a ruse all along. So I could see them too, or maybe Randy Orton wants to use this to get rid of Luke Harper and ban him from the Wyatt family, so that way he can have Bray Wyatt auto himself, so that way he can get his revenge on him. I could see that happening too, which I'd like. But overall, this was a good match, and it was good to see American Alpha finally win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So that was good. And then Dolph Ziggler gets interviewed, and he talks about how it probably wasn't a smart idea for him to put his WWE World Championship match on the line last week, but he says that when he always has a great night when he makes bad decisions, which sounds kind of odd to say that, and he says that tonight he's always come so close, but he says that tonight is the wild card. Tonight's going to be that one night where he finally becomes WWE World Champion. I thought he cut a great promo here, and I thought it was really good. Then James Ellsworth got interviewed, and he gets asked like how he feels to get called ugly and everything, and he says I forget what he said. I think he says that he doesn't let that stuff get him down because he doesn't let his size matter. And then he gets asked how he's recovering from his injuries, and then Carmella comes up and says, by asking him these questions, you're the one also making fun of James Ellsworth. And unlike you, I find James Ellsworth uniquely handsome. And then they leave together. So I don't know where this is going. And I hated this interview segment. This was actually probably one of the only things I hated on the show. And James Ellsworth was terrible here. I don't know where, like I said, I don't know where this is going. I'm happy though he's finally out of the main event scene at least. So that's good, but I could see them putting him back in the main event scene, but I hope that doesn't happen. I could see him having a segment with Cena or something. Then we had the next match. It was a SmackDown Women's Championship match. SmackDown Women's Champion Alexa Bliss versus Becky Lynch. And this was actually a really good match here. I enjoyed it. Alexa Bliss just dominates Becky Lynch in the beginning of the match. And Becky Lynch gets some offense in, and which sends Alexa Bliss on the outside. Then Becky Lynch hits a drop kick on the outside. And then they both start fighting on the outside, and eventually Becky Lynch goes for the Bexploder suplex on the outside, or whatever she calls that. And but Alexa Bliss counters and tosses her head first into the steel post. And Alexa Bliss just dominates the matchup. And then Becky Lynch starts to make a little bit of a comeback, and she ends up holding Bliss's arm to her back, and ends up slamming her arm on the floor, which looked sick. And Becky Lynch, and the match continues going back and forth, and eventually Becky Lynch is about to pull out the victory, get her into the disarmer. But then La Luchadora, who was the person that Becky Lynch was disguised as last week, comes out, and Becky Lynch is really confused, which I was, and Bliss tries to win with a roll-up, but Becky Lynch is able to kick out of it, and then Alexa Bliss ends up hitting the double stomp, and then the moonsault into the double stomp for the and Bliss kick, and Becky Lynch kicks out, and then eventually La Luchadora too ends up untangling the turnbuckle, which didn't really mean anything. But eventually Becky Lynch does get her into this armor, but Alexa Bliss is able to get to the ropes, and then La Luchadora tries to get involved. Alexa Bliss's arm looked really bent back, which was awesome. And Alexa Bliss ends up hitting the DDT for the win, and retains the title. I thought this was a good match. I didn't mind the finish. I actually kind of interested to see what they do with this, who the luchador is, if it's whoever, but I think it's, I don't know who it could be. And afterwards, Alexa Bliss gets asked who it is. I was like, I don't know. It could be Sasha Banks. It could be Nia Jax. I don't know. So I thought that was good. And then Renee Young interviews The Miz, and The Miz says, "What? You're not going to ask me a question? You're not going to ask me how I had such a great 2016?" And Renee Young then asks him, "How do you look? How do you what? Since you had such a good 2016, how do you prepare to use this for 2017?" And Miz is answering, and then the guy he had like a security around his locker room, and then he says, "I would prefer you not breathing on me," except, and he kicks out the security for taking his camera time. And then Dean Ambrose pops up behind him, and then Ambrose attacks the Miz, and then the security try to come in there, and Ambrose lays them out, and then he tabs a walkie-talkie and says "Cleo," and then leaves. I thought this was actually a pretty good segment, and this now is going to lead to, which is tomorrow night, but on the next SmackDown, which is like I said tomorrow night, an Intercontinental Championship match between the Miz and Dean Ambrose, which I'm fine with. I don't know if Ambrose. I don't think they'll put the title on Ambrose, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Nikki Bella gets interviewed, and she pretty much says that when you're on top, people always try to take you down, and that's what Natalia's been doing. And she says that what she has to say to Natalia, she'll say it face to face. So I can't. They'll probably do something with this on SmackDown tomorrow. And then Baron Corbin gets interviewed, and he says that he's not nervous. He said that he's been impatient and he's waited for his shot at the WWE World Championship. And he says that he's going to destroy the little guys, AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler. So then we had the main event. It was a WWE World Championship match. WWE World Champion AJ Styles versus Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler. This was a really good main event. This was the match of the night by far. Baron Corbin dominates the beginning of this match and just tosses Ziggler and Styles around. And he tries to go for the end of days on Styles, but Styles tries to counter it, but then Ziggler ends up hitting a dropkick, and Styles nearly wins, but Ziggler's able to break it up in time. And Styles and Ziggler start attacking each other, but then Baron Corbin hits a double clothesline on both of them. And eventually Ziggler and Styles work together to get rid of Corbin. They double clothesline him out of the ring, and they try to put him through the announcer's table, but then Corbin tosses him into the barricade. He sets up the announcer's table. He gets sent shoulder first into the barricade, and Styles hits a forearm from the steps, and Ziggler hits a super kick which sends Corbin on the announcer's table. So then Ziggler and Styles both get on the barricade, and they're like, "No, I want to put him through the table." So then they're both are just like, we'll both do it. So then Ziggler hits an elbow drop, and Styles hits a leg drop through the table combo at the same time and send Corbin through the table, which was awesome. And then Corbin's out of the picture. It's just a one-on-one match between Styles and Ziggler, and Ziggler hits a Uranagi on the apron and a jumping DDT coming into the ring. And Styles kicks out of it. Styles hits a Hiroshi Tsushi. It's pretty much the Death Valley Driver into the knee to the head, and Ziggler ends up kicking out of that. Ziggler tries to go for the super kick, but Styles counters into a roll-up. And then eventually Styles goes for the phenomenal forearm. Ziggler hits a super kick while he's in the air, and then hits another super kick, and Styles kicks out of that. And then eventually Corbin comes back in the ring, and Ziggler ends up hitting a neck breaker on him. Corbin kicks out, and then Corbin hits a deep six on Ziggler. Ziggler kicks out, and Corbin tries to go is about to go for the end of days on Styles, and Ziggler ends up hitting the zigzag whilst Corbin hits the end of days on Styles all at the same time, which was awesome. And Corbin tries to pin Ziggler, but Ziggler kicks out. Then the match continues. Corbin hits the end of days on Ziggler eventually, and then Styles hits the phenomenal forearm on Corbin, which sends him out of the ring. And then Styles pins Ziggler for the victory, and AJ Styles ends up retaining the WWE World Championship. And I thought this match was amazing. I thought Baron Corbin looked good in this match. I think he actually made the match somewhat because yes, you have Styles and Ziggler who can really sell really well, but I thought Corbin really held his own in this matchup, and he definitely proved to me that he could be a future WWE World Champion at some point, maybe at WrestleMania, whatever. Um, and then afterwards, John Cena comes out and has a face off with Styles, takes off his hat and T-shirt and everything, and he's gonna shake Styles' hand for respect, and then ends up shaking hands, and Cena says, "You know, I'm gonna take that title from you," and Styles says, "We'll see about that." So obviously now at the Royal Rumble, it's gonna be a Styles versus Cena for the WWE World Championship. Um, I'm looking forward to that match. Obviously, this is the continuation of the feud that they had before Cena left, and before the brand split even. And this is the first one-on-one match that they've had since SummerSlam. So, this is just gonna up the ante. This does make me a little bit scared because I am worried they are gonna put the title on Cena, but I really want to see Styles go into WrestleMania with the WWE World Championship. But I have a feeling that Cena may win the title and be the 16-time world champion and go into WrestleMania with the title. So that kind of suck if he did that. So I really am crossing my fingers because I even had this feeling. I was talking to everybody about it. Yes, Cena's losing all these matches clean, but we know this is going either at Mania or before Mania. He is gonna break. He is going to win the WWE World Championship. He is going to get his win back on AJ Styles, which I was worried about was going to happen, and I hope that doesn't. I really, really hope that doesn't happen. I could see. I do have some hope this time, just because. Every time it seems like Styles is gonna lose to Cena, they do put Styles over. So I'm hoping that this is the same case here, because we thought Money in the Bank he ended up winning with interference, but at SummerSlam he won 100% clean. So I'm hoping that he can win, and if it has to cheat, I don't care anymore. He already beat him clean once. If he could beat him clean a second time, that would really put Styles back on the map. But we'll have to wait and see. Because I want to see Styles have a big match with the title at WrestleMania. I want to see him go into WrestleMania with the WWE World title. Just because that would be really cool. And then the ending of the show, it has a backstage segment with Neville. I really didn't pay attention to it, but he was pretty much saying that he's the king of the cruiserweights, and when he was wrestling people, nobody cared about him, and he said that he's going to destroy his inferior opponent, Rich Swann. So, I really didn't pay attention to it though, because I was hyped for Cena versus Styles. I think that they made a mistake by playing this because I don't think really many people paid attention to it. So yeah, I'm not gonna rate the show yet because I still have to watch Talking Smack. So, let me watch Talking Smack and then I will wait Smackdown. Okay, so now on to Talking Smack. We had Renee Young and JBL on the panel. I don't know where Daniel Bryan was. He wasn't on the panel. I don't know if he's still sick because he said he was under the weather the week before. And it starts right off with John Cena getting interviewed. And pretty much he talks about, how he's happy to be back. He talks about how this young crop of talent is the best it's been in 15 years. He kind of talks about that for a little bit. And he talks about how his stuff was out while he was gone from WWE. And then he says, he starts to say how he's sick of people saying that he's washed up. Because he talks about how when he had told The Rock that he was nothing more than a part-timer, it was him being an idiot. He said it was the stupidest stuff he's ever said, and he says that he was trying to get The Rock to come back to the WWE, and he says that he's apologized to The Rock a number of times, and now he says that he's, not a part-timer. He's not done with WWE, and he says the one thing that's aching him is everybody is starting to say that that him and WWE are having issues with each other, and he says that's not the case at all, and he says, that he's a part-timer, his time has come, and he says that he's still here. He still is passionate about the wrestling industry. He loves this industry. And he says that he wants he also says, that he's going to prove everybody wrong. He's not done with wrestling by a long shot. He's about to be pushing 40, and he wants to prove that he is still a threat to be a force to be reckoned with in the WWE. He wants to prove that he's still on the top of his game. Um, and then eventually AJ Styles interrupts him, and he says, "I know what you were trying to do out there, John. You were trying to punk me out because I just came out of a hot fought WWE World Championship match, and you come out here, and you're trying to be the old school guy, trying to congratulate me." And they actually, and Cena says, "If I wanted to punk you out, I would." And he says that you just work on keeping the title for me because I'm taking it from you at the Royal Rumble. And then Styles says, um, yeah, but I want to knock you down again. And Cena says, well, I bounced back from a soldier injury. What else do you got? And Styles says, I'm gonna beat you up again. And he talks about, how Cena's never beaten him. He's beaten him at SummerSlam. And Cena says, you were good. And he talks about, how talented AJ Styles is, how at first he didn't think, um, he had told him that, you've been here with WWE and you haven't accomplished anything, and it's going to be a very fast tenure if you don't. And he talks about how Styles proved him wrong, and he talked, more about how he still wants to accomplish things. He says that for the first time, he says that he's a different guy than he was when he first came into the WWE. He has that ruthless aggression, but now he has more match experience. And he talks about how Styles has wrestled for a while, but he hasn't had as many big time matches as he's had. And I just thought this was good. I'm actually liking this new side of Cena. Um, and I think and it does scare me though that he is saying this stuff, because this makes me think that he may be winning the title at the Rumble, which I hope doesn't happen. But this does make me want to see the match between Cena and Styles, um, because Cena wants to prove that he still is the top guy in the company. So I think that's a good storyline. And then American Alpha gets interviewed, and they pretty much, talk about winning the Smackdown Tag Team Championships. And JBL was talking about how much of a huge fans they are, but he doesn't like the fact that they have all these hokey catchphrases and stuff. And they talk about, how they won what it meant to them to win the Smackdown Tag Team titles in front of their families. So I thought they had a good one, promo and stuff. And they talk about what it was like for them to beat the Wyatt family, who was an unstoppable force. And then Dean Ambrose gets interviewed, and he talks about his Intercontinental Championship match next week, how he's going to maim The Miz and beat the crap out of him. How The Miz attacked him after he had been beaten up by the Wyatt family. And then JBL kept asking questions about the relationship going on between Dean Ambrose and Renee Young. They kind of answered it, but they danced about it a little bit too. And that was really about it. Overall, I thought Talking Smack was pretty good. And overall, I thought SmackDown was a really good show. I thought everything was good about SmackDown. I liked the stuff they did with Ambrose and The Miz. They didn't do it too much because they had other things to do. So I'm assuming they're going to do more with that next week. The SmackDown Tag Team Championship match was good, and American Alpha winning was a nice surprise. The SmackDown Women's title match I thought was good. And the WWE World Championship match and the setup to that match I thought was really good. And John Cena's return definitely made this show too. And the setup for John Cena and AJ Styles definitely makes me look forward to it. I thought Talking Smack was really good, so I thought SmackDown was really good. I actually thought, and I'm gonna say this, that SmackDown was better than Raw again. This is the fourth week in a row SmackDown's been better than Raw. I thought Raw was okay, but I thought SmackDown just had produced the better show. And I heard that they were in the same arena, and SmackDown actually had a better sellout than Raw did, which is not a good sign for Raw. But I think SmackDown's actually doing some really good things. They're pushing new stars like Baron Corbin, Alexa Bliss, and they actually have actual feuds going on, like the feud with Ambrose and The Miz, a few Styles and Cena once they start getting that feud going. And they have American Alpha, a nice fresh tag team. So I'm actually enjoying SmackDown lately. I think it's just been taking risks and stuff. So I enjoyed this show. So I don't know what else to say.